Russians, Chinese, and Americans plan massive campaign to flush secret Khazarian government into the open. By Benjamin Fulford, July 17, 2017. BenjaminFulford.net. High-level meetings between Chinese, Russian, and U.S. military types have reached the conclusion that a short, sharp war may be necessary in order to flesh out the Nazis and their secret world network, Asian secret society and Pentagon sources say. The plan to flesh out the secret government will take the form of a joint U.S., Russian, and Chinese military attack on North Korea, the sources say. This will force North Korea's ET backers out into the open, the Asian secret society sources say. Years of forensic research by this writer have revealed a secret network connecting gold mines in the South Pacific, off-the-grid Antarctic bases, hidden submarine bases, the world narcotics trade, North Korea, and Israel, among other things. This network, created by fascist allies who did not surrender at the end of World War II, is believed to be supplying North Korea with its nuclear weapons and missiles. For that reason, the Asian secret society sources say a campaign portraying North Korea as a villain will be intensified over the coming months in preparation for a short but intense war early next year. This war will not involve countries as they exist now, but rather would be between hidden forces behind countries, the sources say. So the Russians, the Chinese, and the Americans would attack North Korea, who would be backed by secret Russian, Chinese, and American factions, making it a war between secret societies rather than a traditional one between countries, the sources agree. The aim will be to force out secret groups operating behind the scenes into the open, the Asian secret society sources say. Pentagon sources say that North Korea and Israel are ultimately linked entities. To put pressure on them, Russian troops entered southern Syria to oppose the Golan Heights last week, they say. At the same time, Russia fired an Iskander missile from a Jewish autonomous oblast near Korea, quote, to send a blunt message that Israel must return the Golan Heights, the Pentagon sources say. The Jews are also waking up to the fact that their Khazarian mafia overlords are the same people who engineered the Holocaust. Major General Yair Golan, the Israeli Army's deputy chief of staff, last week compared Israel's current government to the Nazis and has refused to back down, a sign the Khazarians are likely to lose control of Israel, as well as North Korea. BlacklistedNews.com. Japan's government recently passed a conspiracy bill that allows it to arrest people planning to commit a crime because they want to have a legal excuse to detain all the professional war makers who are expected to flee from North Korea to Japan once the fighting breaks out, the Asian sources say. Of course, the ideal solution will be to bring these secret groups out of the closet without actually having to resort to a war, White Dragon Society sources in Asia say. The other very interesting subject brought up by the Asian Secret Society sources has to do with artificial intelligence. Strange as it may sound, there is a growing consensus that the reality we are experiencing is the product of an artificial intelligence. This has been told to us in the past by a member of the MJ-12 group, by the Gnostic Illuminati, and now by the Asian Secret Society. Furthermore, this AI appears to be stuck in a loop. This may seem weird, but if you step back from the daily news or even weekly news and take a longer-term view, we do see massive repetition in certain aspects of world news. For example, if you read articles about Israel and the Palestinians from the 1970s, they would be very hard to distinguish from articles appearing this year. The whole issue seems to be stuck in a repetitive feedback loop. The same thing can be said about North Korea, where problems related to that country setting off missiles that could soon hit the United States have been repeating in a loop for many years. In fact, North Korea put up a satellite in 1998, meaning it has long had the capability to hit the continental United States with a nuclear weapon. So why do they keep repeating the North Korean missile meme? Other long-term repeating news loops include arguments over disputed islands in the South China Sea, 70-year-old issues relating to World War II, the Ukraine, Iran, etc. The other loop I have seen repeated for the past several decades is the announcement of the discovery of a way to prolong life that is followed up a few weeks later with a reason why this method will not be pursued. The source of these recurring news loops has been traced to the Khazarian mafia. However, weird as it may seem, when this writer followed the forensic trail from David Rockefeller to the Rothschilds to the Vatican P2 Lodge, it ended up leading to people in Italy and Switzerland, like Vincenzo Mazzara, a cavalier of the Teutonic Knights who claim they get their orders via gamma rays from an entity they know as the Black Sun. For those of us who prefer to look at the real, here and now world, there is still a clear case to be made that certain actors in the intelligence community work on a secret agenda, keep repeating certain news cycles to the detriment of humanity as a whole. There is a chance we can finally put an end to this nonsense as early as this autumn. One key battleground will be Japan. Now that Richard Armitage has been bought off and Rothschild agent Michael Greenberg is a hunted man, the relatively moderate Gerald Curtis has become the top Japan handler for the American occupation forces. The top Japanese power broker is now a man by the name of Kazuyoshi Kobuko, who is a son of the Emperor Hirohito, born by a Korean princess, according to Japanese royal family sources. There is also the old warehouse farmer, Prime Minister Yasuhiro Nakazone, who has been working hard to create a government here favorable to Henry Kissinger, the sources say. These people can be removed if necessary, Japanese underworld sources say. The Asian secret societies, Japanese underworld bosses, and U.S. military and intelligence agency white hats have agreed that making Japan an independent country once again would be a game changer for the entire planet. If Japan became independent, it would immediately stop the looting of its banks, pension funds, postal savings, and other wealth by the Khazarian mafia. This would definitely pull the plug on the United States corporate government in Washington, D.C., as well as Israel. U.S. President Donald Trump, for all his reform zeal and leadership prowess, is merely prolonging the inevitable bankruptcy of the U.S. corporation by selling arms and extorting payments from vassal countries. The wholly owned Puerto Rico subsidiary has already defaulted in May, and although not part of the corporation, states like Illinois are also bankrupt. This year, as has been the case for many years, the U.S. corporate government and its shareholders will be up to all sorts of tricks to try to kick the bankruptcy can down the road past the September 30th fiscal deadline. In this context, the Asian Secret Society, the largest creditors to the United States corporation, are seriously examining a White Dragon Society proposal to have Canada take over the bankrupt U.S. and restore that country to democracy, the rule of law, and sanity. In such a scenario, the U.S. military would remain fully funded as long as they promised to work for the greater good. This would immediately put an end to most of the world's misery and conflict. The French, under Rothschild's servant President Emmanuel Macron, are also making a move to get control in the U.S. Donald Trump, top U.S. General Joseph Dunford, CIA boss Mike Pompeo, and National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster were invited to France for Bastille Day celebrations as 200 U.S. troops led the military parade there. Pentagon sources say the French proposed that they, and not the Germans, should be the top U.S. contact in Europe. The French also proposed joint military action in Africa and the Middle East against ISIS, as well as against the Chinese, the Pentagon sources say. The French Rothschilds are also trying hard to convince the Trump regime to allow their slave Japanese finance minister Taro Aso to be the next prime minister of Japan, and thus allow the Rothschilds to continue to be able to loot that country. Somebody should remind the French that the whole point of storming the Bastille was to end bloodline rule by people like the Rothschilds. There is, in any case, a cleanup continuing in Washington. Former top insiders of the regime of Barack Obama, like his Attorney General Loretta Lynch, have been providing in-depth testimony about their Khazarian mafia bosses like the Clintons. Now, former U.S. President Barack Obama is claiming he was actually a double agent and that he is now willing to fully disclose everything he learned while operating as figurehead president for the U.S. corporation, according to CIA sources. On a final note, Khazarian mafia agents are trying very hard to shut down this newsletter. All our income from this subscription blog has been taken since March by the Japanese tax authorities in a provable case of double taxation. However, even this bogus tax bill was starting to be paid off, so now PayPal is preventing subscribers from paying for this subscription blog. The result has been to reduce this writer's income by 80%. Now, in the latest twist, after our new IT guy set up a system whereby people could pay using cryptocurrencies, a bunch of used tampons and a headless, bloody teddy bear were dumped on his property. That shows what kind of sick, evil people we are writing about. However, we will not be deterred by the IT, and the IT guy is currently working on upgrading the website and implementing a new credit card-based payment system.